Hello, and welcome to my room. For those of you who have just subscribed to me, I talk about all my passions, pretty much everything in my room here, or as my wife calls it, my man cave, but it's also our work office as well. And I talk about my love of the Beatles. That's my number one obsession. I talk about my love of music. I haven't just done a classic album in a long time. That's long overdue. I talk about my love of movies, and I talk about my love of physical media, be it CDs and vinyl and my movies on Blu-ray or 4K UHD Blu-ray. I haven't done a review of one in a long time, and I feel I need to discuss this one. It's the 50th anniversary, just like The Exorcist, just like Dark Side of the Moon, just like the Beatles' Red and Blue album. George Lucas's 1973 masterpiece. This movie means so much to me. American Graffiti. It probably means more to me than Star Wars does, as far as Lucas goes. Everything about this film, I relate to the characters. I relate to the time period. It takes place in 1962, the last summer before America lost their innocence. Let's put it like that. Following these friends and their girlfriends on the last night they were all together. Mainly focusing on Kurt, but focusing on all four friends. Steve, played by Ron Howard. Kurt, played by Richard Dreyfuss. Terry the Toad, played by Charlie Martin Smith. And John Melner, played by Paul Le Mat. All of these characters are variations of George Lucas. This is a semi-autobiographical tale. Kurt is probably more like Lucas. John Melner is Lucas when he used to drag race. The story is his. He did co-write the screenplay with his friends David Hike and Gloria Katz. But I don't feel I need to go into the movie. You need to see the movie. But I need to talk about this disc. Now, I'm going to do another video again about physical media and movies because everybody's got a lot to say and there's a lot of changes being done with streaming, and I really have a lot to say on that one, and I don't think I'm going to edit myself either. But I'm not going to edit myself on this disc either right now. I expected high hopes for this classic film, masterpiece. This was a blind buy. In 4K, new 4K transfer. The original sound designer, Walter Murch, he did a 5.1 mix of it. It's never been in 5.1. So they didn't do Dolby Atmos, a new 5.1 mix. And imagine my disappointment when I put this thing in. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? Lucasfilm, George, Universal, whoever was responsible for this thing, what the fuck happened? The movie was shot in a process called Technoscope. Now, if you dig up my Good, the Bad, and the Ugly video when Kino Lorber Studio Classics issued the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on 4K, I briefly talked about the Technoscope process. And American Graffiti was shot in Technoscope. What Technoscope was, it was a process that was invented by Technicolor, I believe Technicolor in Rome, to allow people to get a widescreen image without the cost or the cumbersome anamorphic lenses, which sometimes could affect the look. A lot of filmmakers used it because they got a specific look from Technoscope, and they were also able to shoot in widescreen without having anamorphic. Technoscope was a 2-perf camera process. Now think about this, standard 35mm, 4 perforations. That film frame, one frame of film is 4 perforations. Those sprocket holes you see on the side of a 35mm negative, a standard 35mm frame is 4 perforations. Technoscope was a 2 perforation pull down. So instead of 4 perforations for a frame, you got 2 perforations. So 2 perforations is one frame, 2 perforations, another frame. So it used half of a 35mm frame. So special cameras, I'd say namely Aeroflexes, were were the ones that had it. American Graffiti was shot with Arriflex 35mm cameras that had a 2-perf pull down. So Lucas did 2 films, Technoscope, THX 1138 and American Graffiti. Now, they would then take that 2-perf camera negative, Technicolor would, and through optical printing, make a standard anamorphic 4-perforation 35mm print. And just like standard anamorphic lenses, it unsqueezes the image during projection. And Technoscope kind of made a comeback with a very good director, but a horrible human being, David O. Russell, and his movies, The Fighter, Silver Linings Playbook, American Hustle. Those 3 movies were shot with Atom cameras that had a 2-perf pull down. So Technoscope kind of made a comeback. Sound of Metal was also shot Technoscope. So one of the reasons why he shot Technoscope was because of the look. He was going for a naturalistic documentary kind of look. That's what Lucas said. And he brought Haskell Wexler on as a creative consultant. He couldn't take a cinematographer name. And Haskell helped him shoot the whole movie. And this thing is scrubbed totally clean. There should be grain. There should be grain. That's one of the reasons why he wanted it, because it was 35mm, but you would get all of the grain of 16mm, because negative size 2-perf Technoscope is one step up from 16mm negative size. It's almost like you're shooting a super 16mm film and going widescreen with it. And there's none of that. Now, if you're one of those video freaks and you want to show off your 4K high-def television, ultra-high-definition television, and you got your action smoothing mode on, this thing will probably look totally great. But it's not what was originally shot. It's not the way it was originally shot. The Blu-ray that's in here, which is the Blu-ray that came out in 2011, has a bit more of an accurate look. It's problematic as well, but not as problematic as the 4K disc. I'm trying to figure out who was responsible for this monstrosity here. Was it George? Was it Universal? I don't know. Now, getting to the sound, Walter Murch was the original sound designer, and I consider him a wizard, a master in the world of film sound, especially in the 70s when he worked with Lucas on American Graffiti and THX, and Coppola on The Conversation, Godfather Part 2, and especially Apocalypse Now. The man's a wizard. He did a new 5.1 mix. Now, I kind of felt I'm of 2 minds of doing like a new immersive sound mix, either with DTS-X or Dolby Atmos. But I think an immersive sound mix here could have been beneficial because they talk about worldizing the music, the coming from either car radios or echoing on the entire strip from other cars. And you heard that in at least the 1978 Dolby Stereo mix. It was originally mixed in mono, then they reissued it in 1978, and it had a Dolby Stereo surround mix. And that was the mix we've been hearing all these years. It's a very dense soundtrack. It's almost avant-garde. It was almost like the music was used as a sound effect, and the sound effects in a couple of scenes were used as score. Like, if you've seen the movie when Kurt ties the rope to the bumper of the police car, you hear the sound of a train, a locomotive in the background, and that's creating the tension. But the 5.1 mix is so conventional, so dialogue heavy. There's a scene that takes place at the dance at the gym, the sock hop, but they get up and dance. And when Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by the Platters is playing. The mix that I've heard all these years has the song in the background. You can make out the song, you can make out the lyrics as they're talking. It sort of acts as a commentary to the scene. And the emotional impact for me in that scene was a mixture of what they were saying and what the lyrics were saying. Now, when they're talking, the sound goes all the way down. It doesn't have that emotional impact anymore. So, unfortunately, they're not going to go and recall this. Unfortunately, I think this is the look that whoever was responsible for the transfer, I don't think it was Universal, because they haven't been touching film grain. I don't think it was American Zoetrope, Coppola's company, because this was a Lucasfilm Zoetrope production back in the day. I think it was Lucasfilm or Lucas himself. One of those two people that said, we got to get that. This thing looks ugly. Maybe it was somebody who didn't know the look of the film. Who knows? I think some answers need to be given about this. Because in this 4K UHD world that us collectors like, this is trash. Now, here's the problem. And I'll end it with this. We vote with our wallets. So, if we don't buy this, people are going to say, see, nobody cared about American Graffiti going out on 4K. If we do buy it, then they're going to say, nobody cares about transfers when we put this on 4K. Nobody cares about it. So where's the happy medium here? That's the question. Where's the happy medium? I don't know. If you're here for my Beatles content, I hope you got something out of this. If you've subscribed to my channel for movies and stuff like that, please let me know your thoughts. Everybody let me know your thoughts on this, because I personally think this needs to be redone. Talk to you soon.